So we're outside of the Honda Civic Type R. I mean, at an initial glimpse, I mean, check this thing out. I mean, it's pretty wild. I mean, kind of looks something like the Subaru WRX, but still, there's still some design elements that really sets itself apart. So why don't we just take a closer look? Let's start off with the front spoiler. I mean, it's kind of like has some offset between the front bumper and I don't know if you look closely, but it kind of looks like, I'm not sure if it's real carbon fiber, but it definitely looks something like the material, and there's kind of like a red trim line sandwiched between two plates that kind of give it kind of a really cool look. And of course, you know, there you have it, the Type R, the signature Type R logo that I don't believe looks any different than what it used to look like back in the Acura Type R days back in the 90s. And then you have the fog lamps and the HID and LED headlamps, which looks very cool. Right. And this front hood here with this air intake for the engine to breathe in fresh air to keep it cool is actually made out of aluminum as opposed to, you know, traditional steel where, you know, it's easier to manufacture. And of course, aluminum is lighter, so it helps keep the performance numbers high. And the rims are pretty cool too. You know, it's kind of a piano black finish, and of course you have, you know, these massive Brembo brakes to help this car stop at a dime with no problems. Moving on to the side, you see, here's another cool feature is, you know, the air intakes going into the tires, which is pretty cool, these air vents. Another cool tech feature, I don't really use it much, but every time you turn the left or right signals on, you know, you have a camera that shows up on your infotainment screen. I don't really like it, but I mean, it's there, so. But nevertheless, let's continue on with, you know, the design elements. Then what's worth noting is also, you know, the side skirts again is kind of the same material used as the front spoiler that I showed you. Again, you have, you know, the red trim line following through, and that also continues to the rear side skirts. So this is the back side of the Honda Civic Type R, and I gotta say it's my favorite part, at least. I mean, check out the spoiler. I mean, it's massive. It's certainly unconventional. I mean, it's kind of like as if some kid was let loose in the Honda design studio and it somehow made it into production. But nevertheless, I mean, whether that's true or not, you know, the guy that designed it, you know, certainly did a good job. I mean, and check out, you know, the fangs or the sharp teeth that kind of sticks out on the spoiler. It's kind of a cool feature because, you know, if I move closer, you know, it's kind of an optical illusion. If I kind of move my camera to the side, you know, kind of disappears. But, you know, if I move to the side, it kind of reveals kind of like a sharp teeth sticking out. I mean, certainly a cool feature. And of course you have, again, the signature Type R logo here. And another cool design feature that I really like is, you know, these top air diffusers that helps with aerodynamics, and it's kind of a blend of form and function here. I mean, kind of looks like there's, you know, like two fangs sticking out on the top, which, you know, gives us some kind of an animalistic look of some sort. But, you know, certainly very cool. You know, it's definitely something you don't really see in the domestic market, or, you know, any of the German vehicles where, you know, the design is usually much more, you know, refined and process driven and buttoned up and tailored, while, you know, this car, this Type R, is certainly out of the ordinary in that respect. Another cool feature that I really like is the triple exhaust pipes, and again the bottom air diffusers, again using the same material used as the side skirts and the front spoiler. Very cool indeed. And again, from the side you can kind of see the detailing and sculpturing involved to kind of give the Type R its signature look that really sets it apart from the rest of its lineup and a regular Civic. It's not too far off from the Sport model, but there's certainly enough added design elements that really gives it its name. And of course the Honda Civic is a hatchback. That means you have a lot of added versatility, and if I open the trunk, you kind of see that there's certainly a lot of cargo space, and if what I have here is not enough, you can actually easily fold down the rear seats by simply just pushing on this lever and push it down. And voila, you have the perfect car for your IKEA trips. So we're inside the interior of the Honda Civic Type R, and as you can tell by the shades of red on the seats and the steering wheel and the center console, it's certainly got a race inspired theme going on. And if kind of come in and focus, you have a mixture of different materials, again kind of that carbon fiber like material used, as well as again the red trim complementing kind of the vinyl paneling throughout the interior. So you kind of have the basic infotainment setup, climate controls. You also have an aluminum shift knob, which is pretty cool. I mean, especially with the fact that it's a stock component. If they're willing to put something like an aluminum shift knob as a stock component, then it usually means something serious. And here's another kind of a cool feature is they have a stamp that tells you which model number this car was when it was manufactured off the plant. You also have a mode switch where you can switch the characteristics of how the car behaves based on the accelerator pedal and the controlling of the electronic power steering. You can put it into plus R sport mode to give it a more aggressive driving characteristic, or you can flick the switch down to give it a more shallow or more composed driving behavior. So there are still a few pet peeves that I have about this car. Nothing major, but it's worth mentioning. And one thing I hate the most is the fact that for whatever reason they don't give me a volume knob. You kind of have to use this touch screen mechanism to turn on the volume, or same thing on the steering wheel. You have to kind of press these buttons to crank up and crank down the volume. It's kind of disappointing, the fact it kind of makes me feel like I'm being served the burgers with chips instead of fries, but it is what it is, and that's Honda's decision, so let it be. But the other pet peeve I also have is these suede leather bucket seats. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're actually very comfortable, very secure, and very well made, but you can't really see, but there's not really a lot of padding in the headrest. There's actually almost no headrest at all. It's kind of flat. And I'm actually not that tall either. I stand about 5'6", 5'7", and there actually isn't really a lot of material that kind of covers the top of my head, and it's kind of noticeable, but you don't really notice it all the time, but it is there, and that's certainly something worth mentioning.